All right, y'all. Today I'm playing the black card. All right. And it's not in a bad way, but it's something that I want to talk about. It is personal branding while black. Let's call it that. One of the things that I've noticed and some of the things that I've looked at, well, no, what sparked this was Snoop Dogg's new commercial. And it's about him giving up smoke or however it was put, but it's a whole viral ass thing. And I think it was cool as fuck. So I want to talk about this personal branding while black. So let's get into it.
Hey, brand babies. This is Brandma's Podcast, where we go in on personal branding without taking shit personally. Brandma's House is hosted by none other than the Ghetto Country Brandmother. She's here to share her experience, expertise, and education in a way that takes you from brand baby to brand leader. So come on in and hold on to your bourbon because Brandma's about to spill the tea.
All right, brand babies. Y'all know my shit is unscripted, so I'm doing this freestyle for real, for real. Because I want to talk about this whole thing about personal branding while black. And one of the things that I've noticed is that people have expectations. There's even a new movie coming out where dude wrote a book, and because he was eloquent and articulate and all the things, his book was not selling. But then when he decided to go ghetto, as they put it, and accused him of being a murderer and having bad language and all this stuff, all of a sudden they want a movie deal and they want the rights and it's millions and it's all the things. Because more than likely they sounded like me, but actually they were a little more ghetto than I was. But and they made it very hood. Um, but there's this notion that we as black people are not articulate, we are not educated, we are not this thing. And I'm not saying by all people, I'm just saying as a general stereotype. And people are more accepting of us if we fit that role of being this black person. Now, I don't know if that's why people are attracted to me or not my business, because your perception is not my reality. So it does not matter. But personal branding while black is often overlooked. When we go out here and we talk about or use examples of personal branding, it's never a black person, it's never a Hispanic person, it's never an Indian person. Maybe in those other countries and cultures, they might have their own version of who they consider a personal brand. But here in America, y'all don't try out black folks to save our lives or yours. And it's funny, like I said, I'm looking at Snoop Dogg and it's like, dude, really? He went there. And they were talking about this whole video, and I only looked at it for a hot minute. It was a great piece. It was short, it was real, but it was this short piece that has gone viral because everybody knows Snoop Dogg and his weed. Dude been smoking weed forever and a day. The people I plan to talk about in this two-part series is Snoop Dogg is one of them. And I have some personal affiliation to all of them, except maybe one, two. Well, we'll get to it. But why is this not a thing? Why is the only example of personal branding are ultra rich white dudes? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a very limited thing. And so everyone wants to take their cues from these people. But the other thing that people are missing is that a lot of these guys made their money before social media marketing was a thing, before digital marketing was a thing. They were already out here doing the shit. And until social media came along, they didn't have a personal brand until the people at large decided to give them one. When influencers became a thing, all of a sudden, these people of influence now have a personal brand. And one of the books I really like is by Mark Schaefer. It's called Known. And it goes into this whole thing about becoming known. And I can appreciate that. But even he still takes that to a level of that's a personal brand. Everybody wants to say, I have a brand because they own a fucking business. I don't give a fuck who you are. You do not. And being popular and being out in the public eye, being a celebrity does not equate to a personal brand. But what I'm going to flip the script on and talking about this personal branding while black is y'all going to see some shit. And what even my mind was limited in thinking. I did not apply this to black folks. And it wasn't that they weren't there in my face the whole time. It's just because the world show us. We look out here and all we see is whiteness. Why is that? One of the people I have mad respect for, and I follow her on LinkedIn, is Lola. And I'm not going to jack up Lola's last name because I don't think I ever heard her say it out loud. But Lola is a voice of culture and diversity. And so she's always talking about respectable marketing. And while I very seldom play the black card, and very seldom talk about black culture, I don't want you guys to ever get it twisted that I don't see it and that I'm not participating in it. I just don't do my shit out loud because it's just how I roll. But nevertheless, I know I'm black every morning I look in the mirror. Last 57 years, this space has been staring back at me. So I don't dismiss that. But when I come out here with my personal brand as a ghetto country grandmother, depending on who I'm talking to or how I'm speaking and how I'm putting it out there, people have already made assumptions and judgments. It's this whole narrative that's been created that, and I don't even have to open my mouth. It could be my style of dress, it could be my big ass hoops, it could be a number of things that may or may not be true just based on my look. But when we talk about others out here, non-black, non-brown, non-Hispanic, non-Asian type folks, there are no assumptions made. No, I take that back. There are some fucking assumptions made that they're articulate, that they're about their business, that they are knowledgeable. There are all kind of assumptions made because we can tell by the chick who did what, who did that little vial of blood, and they made a whole movie about it, and she was like, they gave her billions of dollars. That bitch broke as fuck right now. Oh my goodness! But there was an assumption made that she knew what she was doing. Then there was the white dude, the little young white dude in the crypto money. And when he lost all that money, he ran off to an island and still living in the lap of luxury. But there was an assumption made because if that had been any other culture, they wouldn't have gave him the money like they did. And he wouldn't have been on the lam as long as he was. So there are these things that we have no control over. I have no control over how people perceive me, regardless of whether I'm black or not. I have no control over how you want to talk about me, whether I'm black or not. But perception is a reality. And what I've been taught about branding is that how your audience perceives you is what your brand is. And I said, no, the fuck it's not. How I'm perceived ain't got shit to do with me. But if I need to correct the narrative of how I'm perceived, then I'm here for that. Because what I'm about independent businesses closing the wealth gap. I'm about independent businesses getting paid the money that they're worth. I'm about I'm about people being valued as people and not as commodities, not as brands. That's what I'm about. And it has nothing to do with what you perceive on the outside just looking at a person. Being suited and booted does not make you professional. What you do as a profession makes you professional. How you show up, the intelligence that you have or the education you have about the industry that you're in, that makes you professional. Continuing to learn and stay on top of your game, that makes you professional. The clothes do not make you that. The vernacular does not make you that. It's the education, the experience, and the expertise that you bring to the game that makes you professional. I don't care how many F bombs you drop. I don't care how many times you use the word shit, any of those things. They do not make you unprofessional, but the world at large would like you to think so. And while, believe it or not, y'all gonna think I'm crazy and I'm two-faced and crazy, but there are certain people that I just don't like it when they cuss. Because if you're trying to do it to fit in, then it comes off as disingenuous. Is that the word? Yeah, I think it is. Disingenuous. And I don't need you to cuss. One of my favorite shows, Criminal Minds. Love that show. Watched it. I have binged all 13 seasons. I think it's 13. But I have binged all seasons for a number of times. Then when they came back with this new evolution, now all of a sudden the people that I love are seeing fucking shit and all the things more than I do. And I'm turned off by it. That's because for 13 or 14 years, that's not what you gave me. And so you change the reputation of what you've built. And trying to stay relevant does not require profanity. And in case y'all don't know what profanity is, that's cussing. Because somebody asked me, what is profanity? Profanity is cussing. It's using all the bad words that you know in English, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, whatever. It's using all the cuss words that you know in your language. Okay? But using profanity does not make you any cooler or any more relevant than anyone else. If you don't know how to use what you have to gain the attention that you need to sell the product that you offer, then sweetie, cussing is not going to change that. Profanity is not going to change that. I see when TikTok and everybody was doing the dancing and all that kind of stuff. And mind you, I'm not a TikTok fan, so y'all take this how you want. But when all the young Black girls were creating all these dances, but then the white girls were the ones getting the attention and getting on the shows, okay, you weren't any better. Oh, some of these girls were terrible, but they got the attention because the perception was people wanted to see white people, that the Black girls did not matter. And so they were dismissed. Another one was, you know what? The Me Too movement. The Me Too movement was started by a Black woman who was talking to a girl who was assaulted, a young Black girl. And so she started this whole Me Too movement about young girls being assaulted and molested by people in their family, people they knew, and all that kind of stuff.
Introducing Branding Boundaries and Bullshit by the one and only grandma, Phyllis Williams Strother. Hey, you there. Are you tired of all the boring personal branding stuff? Well, my mom, Grandma, has got you covered with her awesome new book. In this game changer, Grandma doesn't play by the rules. She's a rebel who says you don't have to fake it to make it. No more being a people pleaser, because it's time to get real. Look, my mom's been there, done that, just like Pitbull, except she was a multi-million-dollar restaurant owner. She's got all the stuff to let you know what's real and what's just okie doke. This book isn't for the corporate crazy. It's for the courageous, the genuine, and the unapologetic. It's about putting you first and not some fake customer pleasing it, because this is not the circus. Branding Boundaries and Bullshit is like a fist bump to those who refuse to conform. It's your map to discovering your YO uniqueness and owning it. So ditch the BS and start branding on your own terms. Get Grandma's book now and let your true self shine through.
But then Hollywood got a hold of it, hold of it, whatever. And Reese Witherspoon and whoever else brought it to light, they made it a Hollywood thing. But then they had to bring Homegirl in and, you know what, show that this Me Too movement was in existence long before it hit Hollywood. And I got some opinions about that shit too, because grown-ass women doing something that they don't want to do and said they didn't want to do, but did it anyway. Yeah, miss me with the bullshit. You're grown. What you wanted was the part or the role or whatever, and you didn't say no to the bullshit that it came with. Yeah, fuck y'all. But anyway, Lord, I took myself off on a tangent and it kind of lost me. But anyway, that Me Too movement was started by a Black woman and she is still doing the work, but no one's paying attention anymore because it's not on the Hollywood scene. And so we get this whole notion of personal branding while Black often gets dismissed and swept under the rug. And while I'm sure there are other cultures that feel the same way, sweetie, I'm a Black woman, so I'm talking about Black women. And I'm talking about Black people in general. Now, no, I don't, for y'all, because I heard this once, no, I don't represent all Black people, but I'm talking in general terms here. The relevance of what's out here for us to take examples from are from crooked ass politicians, rich ass white dudes who made money long before social media, and corporate crazy that is all about the bottom line. You're an independent business owner. I don't care if you have employees or you're a business of one. But especially if you're a service-based business. Sweetie, you trying to keep up with the corporate crazy of competition. The reason they're trying to compete is because it's based on their bottom line. It's also based on stakeholders and stockholders. Now, while a lot of people will appropriate what I would consider Black culture or Indian culture or Chinese culture or whatever, while a lot of white folks, you know what, I'm not going to sugarcoat this shit, fuck it, I'm just going to say it. A lot of white folks appropriate certain cultures, then it becomes relevant. Now we see all of these white girls and the young ones and the old ones getting extension braids, and they're calling it new. When we have been rocking this style since before I was born. It was the only way we could keep our hair. Or even when the Black women used to, French braid and cornrow the maps inside their braids. When they used to hide food inside their braids or grains of rice and all of this stuff to make sure they have stuff to eat. But now, since little young white girls, and you don't want them to feel bad about themselves, are wearing these braids, and now it's a new look. Y'all miss me with the bullshit. When the white girls went in the ring with cornrows, now all of a sudden they're boxer braids? Miss me with the bullshit. Brands want to have this, they want to have this thing, but they don't want to have their own thing. You want to take everything from another culture, but then you don't want to give credit to the culture. And while now I'm starting to see more and more Black people on certain commercials and all of this kind of stuff, I don't know how I feel about it. Because in one way, I'm like, okay, you're trying to be relevant. But then another way, I feel like, but you're still using this as a token because you're trying to make us shut up. Yeah, I have mixed feelings. So it is a thing. Being this Black person in an industry that kind of disregards Black people as role models. Wow. I told y'all this is some unscripted shit. I actually feel a little teary eyed. Ugh. But anyway, okay. Personal branding, it has to do with the level of cultural relevance. And while I don't necessarily preach culture as far as you see culture, like, oh, well, she's the Black culture, she's the Asian. No, I'm not talking about that kind of culture. But I'm talking about a culture where you can build a business around it so your audience becomes part of a culture that you design for your personal brand. My culture is ghetto country and is not taking personal branding personally because this is business and a sister is about her money. But if you want to take personal branding, oh, well, I want to give them the full experience of me. Y'all don't want the full experience of me because I told y'all I'm petty, I'm mean, I'm selfish, I'm all those things, but I'm not in my business. I cannot be because it would be a detriment to my business. And people like, well, you know, it doesn't go to that extreme. You always doing. No, you're trying to act like, you know what, because you want to be vulnerable and you want to expose yourself and you want to lay all your cards on the table. Sweetheart, it's not necessary. But because you want to be seen and valued for who you are, I want to be seen and valued in my business for what I do. This is what I do. It's not all of who I am. The person that gives me the most value in my life is my husband and my child. My mom and dad are gone. So being this whole ass Black woman, my name is always hyphenated. When you guys see Phyllis Williams Strother, because I was a whole ass person before I married that man named Neil Strother. I was Phyllis Williams. And I was cool with that. And if you want to bring my first marriage in it, back then I was Phyllis Williams Davis. But I was always a whole ass Black person before all of this. And so personal branding while Black is probably something I probably should talk more about. I won't. I will on occasion, but it is not going to be the platform that I die on. But it just hit me in the face when I saw Snoop Dogg doing his thing. Dude went out and he's hawking smokeless fire pits. Spoiler alert, if y'all didn't see it, y'all, so bad for you. But he did it based on something that he has always been a part of his brand. Dude is all about his weed. And I'm cool with that. And it has never deterred him from making his money. It's never deterred him from hanging out with Martha Stewart. It's a thing. Now, recently, someone did something for me and I put it on one of the social media platforms. If you want to go find it and figure it out, you go do that. But I'm not mentioning no names and I'm not telling you what I posted. But I shared something and the person that created something for me, I tagged them in it. And when I went back and looked at it, the person had removed the tag, which I didn't think so at first because I thought I was tripping. I was like, maybe I did something and I didn't save it. So I tagged them again and they removed it again. And I'm like, wow, well, ain't this a bitch? And while I still like what they created me, now I don't know how I feel about it though. It's like, do I even want to continue to share? Will I be in collaboration with this person at some point? Probably not. Because the story that I told about what this image reminded me of, it was like, wow, this was really nostalgic for me. It was really a personal moment for me. And for you to disassociate yourself with it because you didn't like my narrative, you know what? This is dealing with me while I'm Black. Because this was my Black life experience. And when you disconnected from it, I felt dismissed. And so that's me taking shit personally. And so I'm still trying to look at it through a business eye of, you know what, it just is what it is. And if This is why I talk about alignment with brands and collaborating and all that stuff. Be careful who you collaborate with. If you ask someone for something, but then you don't like what they give you, sweetie, you asked for it. When you already knew or you should have known, had you done your due diligence, what this person was all about with their brand, then you can't be on everybody's stage. You can't be a part of everyone's platform. You have your own brand to build. I have my own personal brand to build. And if they don't align, then sweetie, don't try and crowd in just because someone's popular. Don't try and be on their stage or have their audience because it might not be for you. Their story and your story don't mesh or combine or line up in any shape, form, or fashion. So I think that's all I got for this part one, because I definitely want to get into this part two. Because oh my goodness, it's a whole last thing. But understand, personal branding while Black is still just personal branding. It is people that are on the outside that look at whether I'm Black or I'm Asian or I'm white or I'm blue or I'm gay or not gay and all the other things. Sweetheart, the only thing you should concern yourself with is the result. And if you don't want to work with somebody because there's something other than what you want them to be, then that's your own bias, bigotry, prejudice, whatever you want to call it. That's not my problem. And neither is the perception. I know how to do what I do, and you know how to do what you do. And how you build that personal brand, don't take that shit personally. That's all I'm saying. So there will be a part two to this. And oh, I can't wait for the get down, y'all. But I'm going to get on out of here for this one. So 5, bullshit happens. So suck it up. 4, your voice is important. So speak up. 3, you make the world a more beautiful place. So show up. 2, life is good. So buck up. And 1, I love you and ain't a damn thing you can do about it. So shut the fuck up. Peace and hair grease, y'all. I'm out.
All right, brand babies. We appreciate you stopping by because we know you got shit to do. Just remember to subscribe on your way out and bring a friend next time. In the meantime, and in between time, stay connected with your brand mother on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The links are in the description. And your brand mother wants you to remember that personal branding is not just personal, it's also business.